Hello friends. So General Conference weekend is nearly upon us, and every year when I post some of my sketch notes that I do as I watch General Conference to help me pay attention, first of all, because that's not always an easy thing for me, and also just to help me remember some of the really great stories and the precious principles that I learned there. Every year people ask me how I make the notes. So I'm sure a lot of you are note takers, and I just thought I'd show you how I do my notes in case it would encourage you to have a go at something that has been proven to be more easily absorbed by your brain, and it kind of has hooks in it so that you can remember it and transfer it to your longer term memory. So they kind of look like this, and usually this is how I do my notes. So they're just in a regular notebook. I've got a nice big one because I like to work big, go big or go home. But you can do it on any scrap of paper if you just have some printer paper, a little notebook, anything that you like. Everybody's sketch notes are different. Mine very often tend to reflect my sense of humor. So yours might be totally different to mine, but the method of doing them is the same. So I'm going to actually go back to President Nelson's talk from last conference. So I've got that set up on my computer here. This is my little setup. And I'm going to do a note taking of this talk on my iPad, which I absolutely love now that I've learned how to do vaguely readable writing on it, because writing on glass is actually not easy. But I'm going to do it on here because then I can record it and I can show you the process, how I build the note as the speaker is speaking. Now, in this case, I have heard President Nelson's talk from last year, so I did hear it before. Most of the time, of course, you haven't heard their talk before, so you have no idea what they're going to talk about. So sometimes the notes work out beautifully. Sometimes I've got them crammed all up one corner because I thought they were going to say more things that I wanted to write down. Other times I run out of room. It's just, you just never know what you're going to get and what's going to speak to you and be important to you. So it's okay. The point is, this is not a work of art. It's really important that you know that. I mean, I do love to draw and things, but honestly, every conference I am praying that nobody gives a talk with a horse in it because I'm so bad. My horses always end up looking like a sick camel or something. So it's not about the drawing, even though it's great to have little icons, little stick men, because they also help your brain, which works on patterns and images much more effectively than just streams and streams of writing. So with that said, I'm going to have a go at President Nelson's talk from last conference, which was called Think Celestial. Hope you enjoy it, and I hope it's useful to you. So a quick look at my sketchnote checklist that just reminds me, amongst other things, that my purpose here is to summarize. And I'll begin by noting who it is, when it is, and I have a few brief images from his introduction. His main theme at the beginning here is what he's learned, and I loved his quote that the plan is fabulous. He said that with some passion, which always tells me it's important to the speaker. Sometimes I can go back, as I have done here, as they fill out more details. My little images here are to help the content to be sticky so that I remember it. The idea of an invitation being a physical thing is also helpful to me, to remember that this is an invitation from the prophet and therefore it's kind of important. Pathways are an image that I use a lot. And another thing that helps me is having images that I will look for later, the little self portrait there of me thinking, and this checklist. These are things I commonly use so that when I come back and look at something, I can quickly find what were the things I wanted to ponder on, what were actions, calls to action that I could work on later as well. It all helps to make it stick and help it to be meaningful in my life. You can see I've used this little thinking celestial image. That was a quick cheat there because I ran out of room. If I was doing this on paper, I would just have to go onto a second page, which is absolutely fine. More thinking celestial thoughts as he goes in different directions with it. I use that think celestial bubble there to help me see each time he's taking a new angle. There's the windows of heaven being opened to us, and then he moves on to temples. And I didn't need to list all 20 temples. The fact that there were 20, I felt, was what really needed to be recorded. And then I did take a moment to go back quickly while the Mormon Tabernacle, whatever they're called these days, Temple Square choir were doing their thing, to just go in and look and see if some of my scribble was likely to be unreadable to me later, because that's no use. So I did quickly tidy a couple of things up there. And that's it. This is the sketch note that I made in real time. Obviously, I've speeded it up here, but I made this in real time while I was listening. And the next stage now would be, if I decide this is one of the many talks we listen to that I really wanted to ponder on more deeply and get more out of it, then I go through a second process, which I will share in another video. I hope that was interesting to you. You can see this is not a beautiful work of art, as I mentioned before, but it really did help me to focus my listening, and I feel like I have a record of the most important key points that President Nelson made during that talk.